Welcome back everybody to another episode of Joey's Garage. I'm Joey and you're in my garage. Today we are talking about soldering. I've had this question asked me a couple times. I've done videos on doing the plugs, adapters, the plastic ones for electrical work. I've done it on no spark. I've done it on installing a wall outlet and electrical safety. And I always get asked, soldering. Alright, you disconnected these wires, you want to splice something in. How do I want to do it safely and make it last? Because the typical thing to do, you cut it, you splice it, and you electrical tape it and hope it holds. That isn't right. What I'm going to show you real quick in this tutorial is soldering. Super easy, good skill to have, and all the tools you need to make sure you do the job right. So first, let me show you the tools that we're going to need, and then I'll show you a tutorial, a quick example of how to do it. So these are going to be the tools you'll need. At bare minimum, you'll need the soldering iron, you'll need some flux, and solder. That's the basics. To do the job right, you're going to need some wire cutters and strippers, you're going to need some heat shrink tubing, and a lighter just to make the job super easy. You could also use a heat gun, but the lighter it makes it go real fast. So I got this rig set up right here just to help me hold them while I'm doing the video. But I have my two wires, they're split, and now we need to put them back together. So the first step is going to actually unfurl them or take off the casing. I'm sure there's a correct word for it. And I usually do about 1/2 inch, 3/4 an inch, somewhere in those lines. But as you can see, I have both of them spliced or taken off. And now all I need to do is put them back together. Now there's several ways that you can put these back together. And I'll zoom in so we can see. Some people actually just hold them on top of each other and then they put them back together like that. I like to splice them together, twist them up, and then I'll solder them. So that's how I'm going to do it this time. Alright, so the two wires are spliced back together. As you can see right here, I just wrapped them around, and I also have my shrink heating tube placed back on or placed in there before I spliced them together, because if you don't do that beforehand, you won't be able to put it on. But I'm going to take that off, and as you can see, they're back together, just twisted. From here, we're just going to heat them up. Now by I say heating up, I'm just going to take my soldering iron that's already heated up, and I'm just going to get the wires just preheated a little bit. That's going to make it super easy when we go to actually solder these together in a little bit. So I just want to heat these up a little bit. Usually I keep it on here for about 15-20 seconds altogether. And that's just so it's just a little bit beforehand. So I think we are just about there. And next, once we have this heated up, I'm going to put in some flux. Now I typically do it with just like a paintbrush. You can use your fingers, whatever you want to use. I'm just doing the screwdriver because I don't want to lose the focus of the camera. So I'm going to put a liberal amount. You want a good amount on there to make sure that the soldering or the soldering iron, the actual solder, is going to stick. Because this is what makes it actually stick to the wires. Because if you don't use flux, it's not going to stick and it's just going to run right off. Now with flux, we got to heat it up again. And this is at a good temperature. As you can see, it's getting nice and heated, it's getting liquefied, and you saw it smoke. So once it's done smoking after a couple seconds, it's ready. So now I'm going to bring it back over to the wire, as you can see. Get it nice and heated up. And I put the solder on the actual wire. You want to put it on your soldering iron. And then wait a couple seconds because this is going to heat up. The wires are going to get to the temperature where it's going to melt the solder, and you'll be able to actually solder them together. And there we go. I hope I had it at the good angle that you were able to see that. But as the wires start to get hotter, the flux started heating up, and then the solder melted from the soldering iron, and everything just flowed together into one liquid. So it's actually completely, the solder is all in there. It's not encased like you would think it's around the outside. It's all the way into that braid. Everywhere in there is solder, so it's soldered actually together. So last but not least, we can put on the heat shrink tube. And as I said, the lighter makes it super easy. And all you have to do is run it back and forth a couple times. And it is together. That's all to it. And that's my quick how-to guide on soldering. I hope that helped everybody. Hopefully it came out good. I haven't seen it yet. It was super small. I zoomed in. I was trying to get the perfect angle because it's real quick. Once you heat up those wires and the soldering starts to melt into the wires, you just have seconds to get it just right, and it does take some practice. So if you don't get it right the first time, keep practicing. You will get it. You will need a good soldering iron. I got mine at Home Depot. I do need a new one. That one is about at the last of its life. Solder, the same thing. You can get it at Home Depot. They have different types. You can just go with the regular. Some of those multi-purpose tools like the heat shrink tubing and also that wire stripper, you can get those at Harbor Freight for super cheap since you use them not too often, but it's good to have those types of tools and those types of supplies when you need it. But other than that, thank you very much for watching. As always, like this video, comment if you think I did it right, wrong, what I need to change, blah, 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 whatever. I love the comments. I read every one of them. Subscribe to my channel. You will always get those notifications when I post up a new video because I try to do it as often as I can. And thank you for watching.